The wolves will come again. I dreamt it. Where we last left Jon at the end of Dance with Dragons in Season 5 of Game of Thrones, he lies dying in the snow after being stabbed by men of the Night's Watch. The men do this for the seemingly betrayals of deeply held beliefs. As Lord Commander, Jon Snow has brought thousands of wildlings south of the Wall. He sought to unite them against the White Walkers, and from being added to the army of the dead. However, the Night's Watch has been in conflict with the wildlings for thousands of years. Consequently, the Night's Watch has misinterpreted their mission and instead sought to protect the realm from the wildlings. But originally, the shield that guards the realms of men, meaning included protect them from themselves, separating the first men and the wildlings from harming the overall strength of the first men. In the words of House Stark, winter is coming. Many brothers have suffered personal loss by wildling hands. The recent example is the wildling raid south of the Wall, including the assault on Molestown and the Battle at the Wall. It is understandable that many brothers of the Watch hold a personal grudge against the wildlings, but perhaps their pride has gotten in the way of their mission. They view the wildlings as nothing more as savages, and fear that they will destroy the Watch, or at the very least, consumes all the stores. The brothers are upset with Jon's changes at the Wall and whispered that he's a rebel, a turncloak, and a traitor. The last straw in the books is when he announces a plan to ride south to rescue what he is led to believe is his half-sister Arya from Ramsay Bolton at Winterfell, apparently breaking the Night's Watch tradition of taking no part in the wars of the Seven Kingdoms, and that's when they stab him for the Watch. So it appears that Jon is dead, but this is just one of a series of prominent characters killed off. House Stark has been decimated, with Ned's beheading, Robb and Catelyn slain by the Freys and the Flayed Men. But the Starks' sudden opposition are not immune to treachery befallen many houses in the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, especially Cersei's children. In the show, Jaime's mission to rescue Myrcella fails, and she is fatally poisoned. King Joffrey is also poisoned during his wedding to Margaery Tyrell. Afterwards, Cersei falsely accused Tyrion of Joffrey's murder. Subsequently, Tyrion elects to have a trial by combat and loses, resulting in his death sentence. Later, Tyrion commits patricide after being freed by Jaime. But Game of Thrones is not a story of death and loss. It's a story of various perspectives. It is told by several point of view characters, revealing the characters' thoughts and desires. By copying together the characters' various stories, we can build a better picture of what actually is going on. Much like the various retellings of Robert's Rebellion and the War of the Usurper, merged together paints us a better picture of the war that toppled the Targaryen dynasty. Another example are the numerous tales and prophecies surrounding a savior who would beat back the coming darkness. Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised, and the last hero. Jon has been set up in opposition to the Night's King and his army of the dead. You wouldn't construct a scene like that without a payoff. Thus far, he has been the only person set up to oppose the Night's King. In addition to Jon's central role in the story, he is pivotal to many of the unsolved mysteries and prophecies in Westeros, including who is Jon's mother, a popular and well-supported fan theory, R plus L equals Shay, asserts that Jon is not Ned's bastard, but actually is the son of Ned's sister Lyanna Stark and Prince Rhaegar Targaryen, which has huge implications in the series. He is the prince that was promised, and he is the Song of Ice and Fire, but it seems the promise is broken by Jon's death at the Wall. The others are set to steamroll the realms of men, and the Seven Kingdoms are in no unified shape to oppose them. Narratively, this is the part of the story which a hero will rise, or in this case, resurrected or reborn. some has theorized that Jon will be resurrected by the others and join the army of the undead, where he will eventually lead the army of dead against Daenerys' army of the living, in a fire and ice divided continent conflict scenario. Although there is a sense of balance in this line of thought, it is not employed in that way, which brings us to Valor and the popular theory that Melisandre will resurrect Jon through the sacrifice of Shireen. Thus far in the series, the religion of Valor has given us the only prominent example of resurrection. In the show, Beric Dondarrion is slain by Sandor Clegane in a trial by combat. Those repeatedly praise to Valor until Valor restores his flame. Moments later, Beric is revived and his wounds are instantly healed. He has done this on 6 other occasions. He tells Melisandre that he has no control over it. He merely asks the Lord for his favor, and he responds as he will. Here is important to note, we never see those use blood magic. Regardless, it makes it more probable that Jon would be resurrected by the religion of Valor than the fate of the Seven, where we have no examples. Although Melisandre has never resurrected anyone, but at the wall her abilities grow. In many instances, her magic requires king's blood, from conjuring shadow assassins, which murdered Renly Baratheon. As an aside, Melisandre has been working on a longer-term goal of using king's blood to wake dragons out of stone. Maybe this is a foretelling of her using blood magic to revive Jon. It's one of Melisandre's visions which causes Stannis to relocate his army up north. The true war lies to the north, my king. Death marches on the wall. In the books, once at the wall, on one occasion, she searches for a vision of Stannis. Show me your king, your instrument. But in this instance, she sees a wooden face, corpse white. 1,000 red eyes floated in the rising flames. He sees me. Beside him, a boy with a wolf's face throws back his head and howls. The line, he sees me, establishes primacy between the two, in Bloodraven's favor. She mistakenly views this vision as a vision of the others, due to her dualistic worldview. There is only the god of light and life and the god of ice and death. Followers of the Lord believe their god will send them Azor Ahai, their champion, to combat the great other in the battle for the dawn. Melisandre initially believes this hero is Stannis, but at the wall, evidence changes and points to Jon Snow. In her flames, she repeatedly sees a vision of Jon Snow, including, I prayed for a glimpse of Azor Ahai, and Valor only shows me snow. She definitely takes an interest in Jon, perhaps maybe sensing his king's blood. In the show, she tells Jon that there's power in you. You resist it, and that is your mistake. Embrace it. She also warns him of daggers in the dark, and he may have grave need of her. In her view, she is his only hope. In many instances, we are led to believe that only death can pay for life. It is a recurring theme in both the book and the show. It echoes a requirement to herald the coming of the hero of the Lord of Light, which leads us to a subplot where Jon orders Sam and Gilly to take Master Aemon and Mance Raynor's son with them to Old Town, to deprive Melisandre a chance to use them in her king's blood sacrifice. Unfortunately, in the books, it leaves Shireen at the wall with Melisandre, in contrast with the show, where Shireen is already sacrificed to reverse the worsening northern weather, while Stannis marches south towards Winterfell after his situation becomes incredibly desperate. So it isn't a giant leap in the books for Melisandre to sacrifice Shireen in a bid to resurrect Jon. She may believe as Azor Ahai, Jon, especially since he is paramount in their religion. In any likely scenario, Worgen will play a significant role in Jon's resurrection and maintaining his consciousness. Worgen, or skin changing, is the ability to enter the mind of an animal and control their actions. This ability seems to be only limited to the first men. In another of Melisandre's visions, she sees Jon as a man, a wolf, then a man again, which is a pretty apt description of someone walking in and out of a wolf to someone who is unfamiliar with the concept. In the books, Bloodraven tells Bran, a part of you will remain in summer if your flesh were to die. It is reiterated in the prologue of Dance. It's Vermeil Sitskins, a Wyling warg, tells us when a warg's true death comes, a warg could live again, a second life, by warging into their animal. Later in the chapter, this indeed happens to Vermeil. He dies, but lives a second life in his wolf. In addition, in the prologue, he tells us a skin changer can always sense another, and Jon is strong with the gift. But Jon is untutored and still fighting his nature, and he should have gloried in it. An untrained skin changer can unconsciously enter the mind of their animal, usually while they're asleep. Both Bran and Jon have entered their direwolves numerous times while they're asleep. Consequently, their bond with their direwolves grows stronger. Jon says, Ghost is closer than a friend. He is a part of him. They are one, much like Bran says that he and Summer are one. Melisandre even senses it and says, You will do well to keep your direwolf close beside you. This is a similar statement that Catelyn made to Robb before the Red Wedding. Grey Wind is a part of you. To fear him is to fear you. She urges him to keep his direwolf close. These wolves are more than wolves, Robb. You must know that. I think perhaps the gods have sent them to us. Your father's gods, the old gods of the north. Furthermore, Melisandre tells Jon that there's power in you, in your beast. You resist it, and that is your mistake. Embrace it. Use it. In the end of Dance, Jon's last words before his death is Ghost, a strong indication that he was reaching out to Ghost at the time of his stabbing, similar to Robb's last word, Grey Wind. To reiterate a popular theory, Melisandre will resurrect Jon to the sacrifice of Shireen, allowing Jon to re-enter his body from Ghost. But in any resurrection, Melisandre believes she is responsible for his raising. Due to her dualistic worldview, that Valor is the only god that can resurrect the dead. Perhaps this focused too much on the Valorian perspective. Much like the Azor Ahai prophecy, the North has its own tale of a hero who beat back the Great Other, the last hero. In addition, this account comes from the first men, whose people are closer to the lands of always winter, where their others come from. The kingdom of the first men had taken those lands from the children of the forest, yet here and there the fastness of the children still lives in their wooden cities, their hollowed hills, and the faces in the trees who keep watch. So as a cold death fills the earth, the last hero determined to seek out the children in hopes that their ancient magic could win back what the armies of the first men had lost. He set out into the Deathlands with a sword, a horse, a dog, and 12 companions. For years he searched until he desperate of ever finding the children of the forest in their secret cities. One by one, his friends died, and his horse, and finally even his dog. His sword was frozen so hard, his blade shattered when he tried to use it, and the others smelled the hot blood in him, came silent on his trail, stalked him with packs of pale white spiders big as hounds. The story seems to issue the defeat for our hero. However, Planetos is not a state of perpetual winter since the Age of Heroes. So one of two things happened to the last hero. The children of the forest repelled the others and saved the hero in the nick of time, or raised him after his death. In either case, the children of the forest intervened to save the hero, therefore marking their larger involvement in the war for the Dawn. It is not the first time that the Green Seers took dramatic steps during the war. During the Children's War with the First Men, they employed their magic to break the arm of Thorn in an attempt to stem the flow of the First Men onto the continent. The second was the later phase in the same war, which was a failed attempt to break Westeros into two. The results are the swamps and bogs in the neck that are there to this day, providing a natural barrier which helped the first men hold off the Andor invasions. So perhaps it isn't a giant leap to assume that the Green Seers are capable of recalling the fallen commander, or in this case, key personnel, for winter is coming. Which leads us to the first resurrection in George's story, which is not Beric, but Bran. Bran enters a coma after Jaime pushed him from the broken tower window in hopes that the fall would kill the boy. During Bran's coma, he is visited by a crow while falling in a dreamlike state. Bran thought to himself that he would wake up moments before you hit the ground. The crow's reply, "And if you don't?" Bran wanted to cry, but the crow replies, "Not cry, fly." A comical exchange ensues before turning serious. Bran told the crow that "I will wake up when I hit the ground." "You will die when you hit the ground," the crow said. The answer is flying, not crying. At that moment, Bran looks down as the mountains and woods rush up to meet him. Bran repeatedly cries, "I can't fly." That is when the crow lands on Bran and begins picking on him, showing him the realm in what appears to be a single moment of time, perhaps as how Bloodraven sees it. Bran sees Master Luwin, Robb, Sansa, Arya, and his other family members. The crow, which later in the series is revealed as Bloodraven, then shows him the Dothraki Sea before shifting his gaze up north to the heart of winter. Bran cries out, afraid, and the heat of his tears burn against his cheek. "Now you know," the crow whispered as it sit on his shoulder. "Now you know why you must live. Because winter is coming." As the jagged, blue-white spears of ice and death await to brace him. That is when he remembers, it is only when a man can be brave. The crow then urges him to choose now, fly or die. And Bran flew. Moments later, Bran awakes from his 3-week coma. This 3-week period may help explain the time that Jon spends in his wolf and is not instantly raised. More positive news of Jon's return are the preservative qualities at the wall. At several instances, he notes the food stores in the ice cells beneath the wall, keeps the food and meats longer than salting. However, prisoners do not last long in the ice cells. These are ideal conditions to preserve Jon's body until his return, buying him valuable time as he communes with Bran and Bloodraven, learning all he can about the White Walker threat and what he must do. For the children of the forest, this may be their last war before disappearing from this world. It is also here where the truth of Jon's parentage will most likely be revealed. For here, there is more to R plus L equals J theory. During the later years of Rhaegar's life, he perhaps took a more pragmatic view of the prophecy, the prince that was promised. The 7 kingdoms were stitched together through fire and blood through Aegon's conquest, so he sought to finalize the ties through blood by possibly marrying Lyanna Stark at the God's Eye, thus truly making Rhaegar king of the Andals, the Rhoynar, and the First Men once he ascends the throne for the war to come. Consequently, Lyanna's marriage to Rhaegar may explain the reason why she is entombed in similar fashions as the kings of winter, making her the queen of winter. Once Jon is revived by Bloodraven, or the old gods, depending on your view of the celestial conflict, you will be singly focused on ending the White Walker threat. Moreover, you would have a claim on the Iron Throne, which you would use as a vehicle to band together the realms of men against the Great Other. The long night is coming, and the dead come with it. No clan can stop them. The free folk can't stop them. The Night's Watch can't stop them. All the Southern Kings can't stop them. Only together we have a chance. The story of the last hero has no mention of a burning sword. However, the North does have a song about the Night's Watch riding forth to meet the others in the battle for the dawn, the night that ended. On the pragmatic side, it is more likely that Lightbringer is a metaphor for a national or royal army, a single army behind a leader with one purpose, perhaps foretelling what is needed to defeat the others. Furthermore, Lightbringer is perhaps a misinterpretation of Blackfire, the Targaryen sword of succession. It will serve as a catalyst to unite the peoples of Westeros against the Great Other. In summary, Melisandre's raising of Jon is a red herring. The last Greenseer will raise Jon, like he did with Bran and possibly Cold Hands, for winter is coming, allowing Jon to forge Lightbringer by assembling the 7 kingdoms into one and use it to defeat the Great Other. For the gods foretold what is required to defeat the army of the dead, through prophecies and songs, as well as the sacrifice that must be made of the man who will wield such a terrible weapon, Lightbringer. Thank you.